Suma's girlfriend, Hanabi, bullies him endlessly, causing him to be hospitalized due to stress. Even on her hospital bed, Hanabi continued her verbal attack. Having had enough, Suma broke up with her immediately. In a flashback, Hanabi as a child sees Suma playing in the sandbox. She noticed he seemed nervous and was considered strange by everyone, but she still chose to play with him. That's when it all started, and as they grew up, Suma became an emotionless object for Hanabi to vent her anger on. She always hurled insults at any of his mistakes and never let up. Things only got worse in high school. One stormy afternoon, Hanabi texted Suma, asking him to pick her up near the train station. Suma planned not to go because of the storm, but Hanabi made him feel guilty and forced him to go. Suma quickly took the umbrella. And he ran to the station. Afraid that if he doesn't go, Hanabi will scold him fiercely later. As he approached the station, Suma saw Hanabi standing by the window. However, Hanabi told Suma to just stand there in the pouring rain and wait for her until the job was done. Even though the request was so unreasonable, Suma still stood there, soaking wet. An hour passed. Finally, Hanabi and her friends left the cafe. They were betting on whether Suma would actually wait or not. After an hour, Hanabi happily told her friend that Suma would do whatever she said, no matter how silly the request was. She squatted in front of Suma and confirmed it. At this time, the stress, anxiety and fatigue that had been pent up for a long time came to the fore, causing Suma to faint. Back to the present, Hanabi stood stunned, surprised. She thought that Suma was just making a sick joke. But Suma reminds her that she always threatened to break up with him, and now it's time for them to go their separate ways. Hanabi thinks Suma is just bluffing and points it out. He did not have the courage to make such a decision on his own. She said he had no right to break up with her. She also commented that no other girl would put up with someone as useless as him. However, Suma was completely serious when talking about breaking up. He pushed her out of the room, saying that she should be happy to get rid of a useless person like him. Hanabi tried to stand back in the room, but Suma pushed her away one last time. Hanabi started banging on the door, demanding that Suma apologize to her. A passing nurse told her to keep quiet. Hanabi explains that they just had a small argument and it was her fault. She apologized and went out, but as she left, she pouted and bit her lower lip. Things didn't go as she expected. Hanabi started texting Suma, asked him to quickly apologize to her, accompanied by a bunch of insulting words to decorate it. Suma didn't read all those messages and blocked her. He walked to the window, looking at his reflection in the mirror. In the past, Hanabi convinced Suma that his face was ugly, and it's best if you keep your hair long to cover it up. With low self-esteem, Suma agreed to follow everything Hanabi said. But now that he was free from her shackles, he decided to cut his hair. As soon as he left the hospital, Suma immediately went to the barber shop and got a new hairstyle. Symbolizes the end of his 13-year relationship with her. When Suma arrived at school the next day, he seemed completely oblivious to the girls who were admiring his new appearance. Some people even mistook him for a transfer student. When Suma finally realized the girls were screaming around him, he was completely confused. His friend, Haruta, wiped a tear from laughter and told him that everyone was talking about him. Haruta told Suma that he looked very handsome, something Suma had never heard before. Suma's hair obscured his face for a long time, to the point where no one could see him clearly. But now, with that hair gone, all the girls agreed that he looked very attractive. Haruta asked why Suma chose to change his appearance, and Suma simply replied that he just felt that way. Everyone agrees that he looks better like that, and Suma was happy to hear that. Suma accidentally becomes attractive, something Haruta can't help but like. Suma apologized if he had ruined the classroom atmosphere because of him before, but hopefully from now on he can integrate well with everyone. Suma joins Haruta and friends for lunch. Haruta wished Suma had come out of his shell sooner, but Suma felt happy because now he could talk to them. Haruta put his arm on Suma's shoulder and said that his appearance was worthy of being a national asset. Suma laughed. And that smile is enough to surprise anyone within a 5-foot radius. While the girls cried, Suma saw Hanabi standing nearby, clearly angry. He realized she was upset. But is that because he broke up with her? Blocking her or because he cut his hair? He doesn't care. When Suma tried to pass by, Hanabi immediately blocked the hallway, to maintain her cover as one of the most popular and likable girls in school. Hanabi forces Suma to keep quiet about their relationship status, makes others wonder if they actually ever dated. Haruta asked Suma if he knew who Hanabi was. And Suma replied with the coldest statement in history. No, never met her. Hanabi trembled with anger, determined to get revenge somehow. Suma finished his homework before the deadline, leaving him with quite a bit of free time. He remembered displeasing Hanabi before and guessed that she was now extremely upset. At the same time, ask yourself what you will do with this free time. Suma glanced to the left. and he saw a girl reading a book in the breeze. When that breeze dropped her bookmarks, Suma picked it up to help. And their eyes met. The girl thanked Suma for helping her pick it up, and she suddenly realized that this was the first time they were talking to each other. Before that, Hanabi had convinced Suma that he wouldn't have a chance with any girl, and the only reason she dated him was out of pity. She frankly told him that no one would love him but her, if what she was doing could be called love. Because of Hanabi's influence, Suma has been completely isolated from any social interaction with the girls. I apologized to Fumi if I made her feel uncomfortable. And she consoled him that he did not. She introduced herself as Fumi. But some people already know. This makes Fumi feel happy. This was Suma's first time making small talk with a girl other than Hanabi. Fumi comments that the class suddenly started paying attention to Suma since he cut his hair, but Suma says that they will probably get bored of him soon. He compared himself to a rare animal. Fumi laughed, and for the first time Suma felt at ease. Instead of worrying and stressing about possible insults from Hanabi, he can be himself when he's with Fumi. Fumi tells Suma that she always wanted to talk to him seriously, since she saw him watering the plants in the hallway. Suma tells Fumi that he didn't do anything noble. He only did it to kill time because he always had to wait for Hanabi. Suddenly, Suma realized that Fumi wanted to talk to him from before, even when he wasn't as attractive as he is now. Fumi closes the book and says that from now on, Suma will become even more popular with girls. After school, Suma goes out and enjoys his newfound freedom in life. I bought a few books. I won a turtle from a gaming console. And he ate a double cheeseburger. Now, no longer bound by Hanabi, Suma was no longer worried about having to reply to her messages. Those wounds will gradually heal over time, especially since Hanabi can no longer text him. Suma left the shopping mall without realizing the sun was setting. He boarded the train and headed home, reminiscing about the relaxing time he had today. He was free to explore the city and chat with friends after school, and he enjoyed school life to the fullest. Suma is confident that he still has a chance to save his youth. However, as soon as I got home, he saw an uninvited face waiting near his house. Hanabi. Hanabi complained that she had to wait for him for more than 2 hours, and she scolded him for going too slowly. Suma ignored Hanabi and tried to walk past her. But Hanabi stretched out her hand and stopped him. Suma asked what she wanted. Hanabi's reaction did not surprise Suma. She always manipulates his emotions and often makes him feel guilty to achieve her goals. However, Hanabi turns her anger on Suma's classmates. Suma asked her if she really waited 2 hours outside his door just to say such meaningless words. He frankly told her that from now on they were strangers, and her doing this bothered him. Hanabi asked if he seriously wanted to break up. And Suma replied that he was completely serious. Hanabi warned Suma that he won't be able to live a normal life if he breaks up with her. However, Suma knew better than that. Hanabi is the problem, not you. However, Hanabi did not give up. She took Suma's arm and said that today was just a coincidence, and the girls who approached him before only did so because he looked attractive. Hanabi tries to convince Suma that she is the only one who sees his true self. Suma doesn't see his classmates as such shallow people, and he also doesn't let Hanabi decide who he should be friends with. However, Hanabi did not give up. She offers to forgive Suma if he apologizes to her properly. Suma looked her straight in the eye and said he couldn't do that. He calmly uttered a cold sentence. I don't need you in my life. Hanabi angrily mutters that she should be the one who should break up with a fool like him, but Suma points out that she can't do that because he's already done it before. He pushed her aside and continued walking home. Hanabi shouted that she was really angry with Suma now. But Suma didn't care and kept walking. Hanabi gritted her teeth and ran away. Suma hopes that this will clear things up and things will calm down. A few days later, Suma continued his relaxing and peaceful life. I only see Hanabi near the school gate or somewhere around the school, but he paid no attention to her. However, she still seems to appear everywhere he goes. At least now she's not talking to him anymore. Suma remembered how Hanabi forced him to wait outside her door for 30 minutes, but one day Suma noticed that Hanabi had arrived at the station before him. She could have prepared this early in the past, but she just chose not to. He noticed her chatting with Taiichi, who he remembered as the baseball club's ace. Hanabi and Taiichi are openly flirting with each other. And they make no effort to hide their seemingly youthful relationship. Unfortunately, the way they flirt is not attractive, and everyone around them feels uncomfortable with them. Suma, hoping that he wouldn't have to see that unpleasant scene again, decided to catch an earlier train the next day. However, when the new day comes, he saw Hanabi and Taiichi again. Suma wasn't stupid, he immediately knew this couldn't be a coincidence. He realized Hanabi's clear intention to make him jealous. But it doesn't work. I don't care. Seeing that her plan had failed, Hanabi angrily pushed Taiichi's hand away from her. Suma goes to school and greets his friends. He was still a bit mentally exhausted from this morning, but tried to regain his composure to start a new day. The first class is physical education, where the coach takes the opportunity to decide the order for the relay race at the upcoming sports festival. The coach encourages the students to try their best to impress the girls, and it really works. The boys were all fired up to become the fastest runner. Suma always tries to maintain a normal running speed, so he didn't know what his physical abilities were. He has won many running competitions when I was in kindergarten. But even then, Hanabi quickly quelled his joy by saying that he didn't look cool running fast. That's why Suma started to deliberately slow down. All because Hanabi likes to be the center of attention. Suma doesn't want to stand out. I just want to stop limiting myself. And he can live normally like everyone else. When the coach called the first group of students to the starting line, Suma immediately prepared himself. Suma rushed off the starting line. Each step is long and gentle. You don't need to limit or control your speed. When he reached the finish line, Suma turned back to test his speed, only to see the coach and classmates standing there, mouths wide open. The coach exclaimed that Suma's speed was so fast that it could have broken the provincial record. Haruta nominated Suma to be the leader of his class. And everyone agreed. They will crush their opponents, and victory will be within reach. An attractive reward for the winning team in the inter-class relay competition is a set of discount cards for desserts at the school canteen. However, Suma refused the class's offer to be the team's anchor. He thought that his recent run might have been just luck, because he didn't belong to any sports clubs and didn't do regular physical activity. The whole class became depressed. And they practically begged Suma to change his mind. In the end, Suma couldn't bear to refuse when he saw everyone like that. He agreed on the condition that they didn't expect him to win. And that was enough for everyone to rejoice. Haruta thanked Suma for daring to believe in the team. Suma didn't mind too much. He was just surprised by everyone's reaction, and felt happy that they all appreciated him. The positions for the relay race are announced and posted on the classroom board for everyone to see. When the class learned that Suma was the team's top pick, his popularity skyrocketed. It seems like breaking up with Hanabi was the right thing to do. Suma's life has turned to a new, better page. Fumi, Suma's classmate, seemed to think so too. She commented that Suma had attracted attention again. And although Suma once had some ambition to become an athlete, he says that is in the past. Fumi wishes she had some stamina like that, and asked Suma if he could give her some tips. Suma replied that he had nothing to teach her. Fumi becomes depressed and starts talking about skipping the sports festival. Suma asked her if she hated festivals that much. And she happily replied that she hated it very much. Suma wished he could help Fumi more. Suddenly, Hasuike, a member of the track team, approached Suma. Hasuike asked Suma if he really wanted to devote himself to the relay. And are you willing to die for it? Suma hoped he wouldn't die running. Hasuike feels worried about Suma's determination and unstable spirit. Hasuike explained that he trained hard to ensure he could be the runner-up in the relay, but he didn't ask Suma to switch places with him. Hasuike admits that Suma defeated him fairly, but he asks Suma for a favor, to crush the top team member of another class, Taichi. Fumi recognized the name, and she explained that Taichi wasn't as good a player on the baseball team as Suma thought, but another member of the track team. Suma asked Hasuike why he wanted to defeat Taichi so much, and Hasuike explains that Taichi stole his girlfriend. Hearing that, Fumi became visibly worried. Suma still felt confused, because this morning he definitely saw Taichi and Hanabi together. Hasuike doesn't blame Taichi for stealing his girlfriend. Hasuike blames his failure as a boyfriend. But what he can't accept is the way Taichi abandoned his girlfriend to run away with a first-year student. That's something I can't forgive. Additionally, when Hasuike met Taichi in the hallway this morning, Taichi even bragged about how he became the team's top pick again this year. Taichi also did not forget to tease Hasuike, saying that not only did he lose in love, but now he is also about to lose in the sports festival. Suma offers to give up the position of team leader to Hasuike, so he can get revenge. But when Hasuike gradually regained consciousness, Hasuike admits that no matter how much he practices, he has never been able to defeat Taichi, so he entrusts his dreams of revenge to Suma. He wants Suma to take Taichi off his high horse. Suma asks Hasuike what he will have to do to achieve that, and Hasuike offers to train Suma seriously on how to run. Suma will need that, since Taichi holds the prefectural record. However, Suma is unsure if they can defeat Taichi with this alone, as the relay race is still a team effort. Finally, Hasuike commented that each person's conditions on race day may vary, but the focus of the race is still the confrontation between the two team leaders. Hasuike asked Suma to practice with him for a few weeks before the race started, and he bowed his head in supplication. Suma agrees. on the condition that Hasuike will also teach Fumi how to run. Hasuike agrees, and so does Fumi. A plan is drawn up to defeat Taichi. The next day, Suma appeared at the school's athletic field, where Hasuike and Fumi were already waiting. This was also the first time Suma remembered actually meeting his friends. Hanabi had forbidden him to be friends with anyone she didn't approve of, but now he was free. After warming up and practicing, Suma felt very different from the days when he was controlled by Hanabi. They agreed to meet again after school, while Hanabi looked at them with jealous eyes, when Suma was living his best days. After that, Hasuike started the training session. He leads them to warm up properly so they can defeat Taichi. While stretching, Fumi clumsily slipped and fell to the ground. Suma couldn't help but laugh. And that sight made him unable to help but call Fumi cute. Fumi, embarrassed, asked Suma if he was the natural flirt type. Suma didn't understand what she was saying, but Hasuike knew clearly. He said he had real guts, daring to flirt right in front of someone whose girlfriend had been stolen from him. Nevertheless, they continued their training session. Hasuike used a stopwatch to record their time. Even though Fumi and Suma were both tired, Hasuike was still a great coach and he gave very useful advice. Their times gradually improved, but in just a short period of time, their progress was limited. Suma mutters that Fumi looks cute when she runs. Causing Hasuike's eyes to tear up, he had to beg them to stop flirting with each other. Time passed quickly, and they continued to practice in the mornings and afternoons. Meanwhile, Hanabi begins to reappear at the same train station that Suma boarded. However, he noticed that she looked noticeably tired and sleepy. One day, Hanabi saw Suma and went straight to him. She boasted that he would see her face more often in the coming days. Suma replied that she shouldn't force herself to wake up too early, unless you want to have messy hair again like last time. Hanabi quickly adjusted her hair. Then asked Suma about his role in the upcoming relay race. She boldly declared that she had told him many times not to run, and now she wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to properly humiliate him. Hanabi brags that her new boyfriend, Taichi, will crush Suma in the competition. At that moment, Taichi walked up, sized up Suma and mocked him. Hanabi turned back to Taichi, and wished Suma good luck in his struggle. They moved to the other end of the platform, still continuing to flirt with each other. Suma didn't mind, he felt more comfortable and confident than ever. Several days passed with intense and tiring practice sessions, each morning and afternoon devoted to improving speed. Not everyone who works hard gets rewarded, but all successful people have worked hard. Finally, the training session gradually ended. Hasuike blew the final whistle, and he praises Suma and Fumi for their efforts. Fumi was exhausted. She fell to the ground. Suma and Hasuike sat down next to her. Together they watched the sparkling sunset during a hard day's work. Tomorrow is the big race. Hasuike had praise for them, on how both of their times had improved markedly. Although the relay race was not a duel, Hasuike was confident that based on Suma's ability alone, he would definitely defeat Taichi. Suma thanks him for his encouragement, although he would have preferred if he had more time to practice. Hasuike was so moved by Suma's work ethic that he couldn't hold back his tears. Hasuike thanks Suma for agreeing to participate in his plan. He admits that he hasn't been sleeping much lately because of what happened between Taichi and his ex-girlfriend. Thanks to Suma and Fumi, he was able to turn his mind to helping them improve their running times. No words can express my gratitude. Fumi also expressed her appreciation for the help Hasuike gave them. She ran a lot faster than before, and so did Suma. Hasuike smiled. The time he's spent with them over the past 2 weeks has truly changed his life. At least in terms of meaning. However, his grudge against Taichi has not subsided. When it comes to Taichi, Fumi shares her observation that Taichi seems to have changed his hairstyle recently. Looks quite similar to Suma's style, but the comparison stops there. Hasuike explains that Taichi has cut his hair since he started dating Hanabi. Taichi's ex-girlfriend broke up with him because she liked Taichi's hairstyle. Perhaps Taichi cut his hair to retaliate against Hasuike. Hasuike feels ashamed because he still feels bad about his ex-lover. But Suma sympathized with him. Suma never ridiculed someone who loved another person wholeheartedly. Hasuike sobbed and Suma comforted him. The three became closer friends than ever. On the way back, Fumi repeated the previous comment that Suma is a very thoughtful person. Suma asked Fumi why she suddenly said these things. And Fumi recounts recent times when Suma has shown his kindness, concern, and empathy. She thought it was a wonderful thing. When they realized the distance between them was too close, Fumi quickly turned away. But she also admitted that getting to know Suma over the past few days made her very happy. The unexpected compliment made Suma feel confused. And Fumi is no better. However, she still wanted to tell him, no matter what. An awkward silence fell. And they move on to the next topic. The next race in the relay. Suma waved to Fumi and they walked in different directions. When I got home and went to bed. Suma thinks about what Fumi told him. That afternoon, he realized that if this continued, he would not be able to sleep, with new emotions welling up in his heart. The next day, Suma's class focuses on their goal of victory. Sports day has arrived. And Hasuike, even though he struggled to sleep last night, also ignored thoughts about his ex and Taichi, focusing on his two new friends. Sports day is in full swing, events are being organized. Fumi tried her best in the shooting event, full of enthusiasm and thoughts about Suma. Suma realizes he is about to participate in a rope jumping event. Suma stood up and quickly left. Meanwhile, Taichi is by Hanabi's side, always encouraging her, full of anticipation for her upcoming cheerleading match. Hanabi also expected that Taichi would win first place in the relay competition. Finally, the main event of the day arrived, the relay competition between classes. Hasuike tensed his muscles, prepared himself and headed to the starting line. Fumi gave Suma and Hasuike one last warning before starting. Hasuike smiled and waved. Then he took position at the starting line. When the race started, Hasuike immediately took the lead. The atmosphere is hot, tense. The rapid breathing of the athletes mixed with loud cheers. Very soon, Fumi's turn in the competition approached. She felt extremely nervous. Fumi asked Suma if he could help her a little. She grabbed his hand, squeezed it tightly, and she felt determined. She rushed towards her position. Pay attention to each breath while waiting for your turn to run. She leaned forward, hands on her back. Then when she reached the west, she picked up the relay baton. She burst into a powerful sprint, using up all she had practiced. Suma cheered Fumi wholeheartedly. And she successfully passed the baton to the next person. At this rate, they will definitely be far ahead of the other teams. Fumi approached Suma, who was still panting. And she remarked that she heard his voice amid the sea of screams. She felt it was magical to be able to hear him, even though the distance was quite far. She felt as if it was a miracle. She promises to cheer for him like he did for her. Hasuike got their class off to a great start, setting a solid foundation for their team to take the lead. Suma's role as a final runner is extremely important. And he wanted to repay everyone's efforts with his own strength. The race continues, and Suma's turn is coming. Suma observed that their main opponent, his Class B, is far ahead of everyone, while their class just barely maintained second place. Taichi approached Suma and asked why someone like him was the last runner, although their class has another track and field member, Hasuike. Taichi answers his own question by mocking Hasuike's recent poor performance, and said that no matter what he did, their class couldn't win. However, his speech was interrupted when a classmate announced that his transition stick was approaching. Taichi gets ready, and as soon as he took the stick, Taichi almost flew out of his starting position. Despite his arrogant and annoying personality, he is still truly capable. Suma nervously turned around and saw, his classmates were running with all their might to reach him. When Suma received the transition stick, he also immediately rushed forward, giving everything he had been trained by Hasuike. The fact that his class is in second place is not important, it's important to defeat Taichi. Taichi heard loud cheers from the stands. When he turned around, he was surprised to see that Suma was right behind him. Taichi didn't realize that until Suma dramatically surpassed him. He didn't have time to change his speed and could only stare as Suma sped past him, taking the lead. In an impressive comeback, Suma burst past Taichi and into the welcoming arms of his classmates. They lifted him up, surrounded him, and paraded him like a war hero. Suma didn't know how to react. But when he saw the smiling faces of his friends, he decided that everything was okay. While Suma and the class celebrated their victory, Hanabi is sulking. Her plan has been ruined. Class A won the relay race, and many classmates recognized Suma's impressive achievement in defeating Taichi, an outstanding member of the track team. However, as more and more people realized that Suma had surpassed Taichi, a talented track and field player, they started making fun of him because he was handsome but had a bad personality. Suma looked around and noticed Hanabi's annoyed face near the stands. He didn't blame her for being angry. But Suma wanted to win because of Hasuike, not because he wanted to make her angry. He wondered if Hanabi thought he was doing it just to antagonize her. While their class is helping clean up, Hasuike invites Suma to a post-competition karaoke party. Suma had never attended such a party, much less been invited. Fumi will also participate, and everyone wants him to join them. Suma decides to accept the invitation to join the party. While he and Fumi were finishing cleaning up, Suma heard a familiar voice. Hanabi and Taichi are nearby. Not wanting to get close to Hanabi, Suma quickly pulled Fumi away. But the sudden action caused Fumi to stumble, and they fell into a rather complicated situation. Suma apologizes and explains that he just doesn't want to see Hanabi and especially Taichi again. Especially after he surpassed them in the race. Both bowed their heads, having no choice but to eavesdrop on the story. Taichi explains his recent defeat, justifying that he was not at his best, but promised to take first place in the inner high athletics tournament. However, Hanabi wasn't about to let him take any chances. She ends this fake relationship, ending her role as Taichi's boyfriend. Even though Taichi thought they were in love the whole time, he still pointed out that Hanabi always wanted to go to school with him and often linked arms with him. However, Hanabi explains that it was all just pretend. She scoffs at Taichi for focusing so much on his muscles and forgetting his mind. She only has one person who wants to be her boyfriend, but didn't say who it was. Taichi, desperate to keep Hanabi, recalls how he changed his hairstyle and broke up with his ex-girlfriend just so he could be with her. Hanabi smugly tells Taichi to stop acting so desperate, and she forbade him to talk to her again. Taichi tried to say something more, but Hanabi decided to end the conversation, telling him to leave immediately. Frightened, Taichi ran away, head bowed. He gradually disappeared in the crowd. Hanabi turned around and asked Suma what he was doing there. Exposed, Suma looked at Fumi. She nodded to confirm that they could stand up. Hanabi asked Suma if he came here to laugh at her. Then she bragged that her revenge plan wasn't over yet. She only failed this time because Taichi was a useless person. Suma replied that he would only give in once. Hanabi angrily replied that she would not be fooled by such cheap provocations and then angrily left, preparing for her next revenge plan. After a moment of silence, Fumi asked Suma what that was about. "I'm sorry for making you listen to that strange conversation." But Fumi said she was fine. Afterwards, Suma attended the after-race party with the rest of the class. At the karaoke bar, where he was honored as MVP, the entire class was unanimous in recognition and they recounted Suma's heroic moment when he crushed Taichi in the final race. Suma replied that the victory was not only due to his own efforts, but was the result of the entire class's efforts. He is hot-tempered, kind and carefree. The whole class feels lucky to have him. I observed the party. Suma realized that if he did not participate in the race, you won't be invited. Although he didn't know much about his friends, he noticed that the two class representatives seemed friendly and approachable. Suma chats with Fumi about the songs being sung. And then it was Hasuike's turn to take the microphone. He grabbed it and announced that the next song would be dedicated to Suma. A girl in class shouted that she was in full support. Hasuike told the class what they already knew: he was abandoned by his ex-girlfriend. But thanks to Suma, he was able to take revenge successfully. This makes everyone admire Suma even more. Not only did he win the race, he also did it to help his friend. Suma shyly tried to downplay what he had done, but couldn't. People began to treat him like a hero, if not the way they had been treating him all along. Suma gave up and leaned back in his chair. Fumi commented that he really looked like a hero, which is why everyone was making such a fuss. Suma still doesn't believe he deserves such praise. But Fumi said that many people admire him, not only his classmates but also her. Fumi admitted that as she watched him run, her chest felt tight and suffocated. Suma looked straight into Fumi's eyes. He didn't know what to do with the new feelings in his heart. The two sat in relative silence, while their classmates continued to sing their hearts out. The excitement does not subside. But Suma stood up and walked towards the bathroom. Just as he turned the corner, he overheard a bad conversation about Minagu, one of the class representatives. The two girls were gossiping about Minagu, thinking she was just trying too hard to get Suma's attention, and they found it really desperate. Two girls, Erika and Mirai, harbor a clear resentment towards the people who stand out in their class. Suma continued to eavesdrop and realized that they were his classmates. Although it was true that Minagu had started talking to Suma more since he cut his hair, he believed that she was just being friendly and meant nothing else. Erika loudly said that she did not see any attraction in men. Mirai agrees, exclaiming that men should only exist in 2D form. Suma goes in the opposite direction and notices that Erika and Minagu don't seem to get along. Suma didn't know how to feel about speaking ill of others. He returned to the party and continued to enjoy the fun atmosphere. A moment later, Erika and Mirai also entered the room. A few hours later, the class left, but because they had had so much fun, they decided to plan another karaoke session. They invited Suma to join. And he promised to come if he had time. Suddenly, Suma heard the sound of something moving behind him. When he turned around, he only saw an empty alley. He thought to himself, as long as this isn't Shibuya, there's nothing to worry about. Suma tells himself that he will be fine. Fumi noticed he looked worried. But he dismissed his feelings by convincing himself that it was just a stray cat. When preparing to go home with Fumi, instead of accompanying her halfway like usual, Suma offered to take her home. He didn't want Fumi to have to go home alone when it was so late. Fumi felt embarrassed by Suma's sudden gallantry action. But he didn't even realize it. After separating from the group of classmates, they started going their separate ways. Suma and Fumi prepare to go home. But the sound Suma heard earlier was actually from Hanabi, who had been secretly watching him the whole time. Hanabi angrily mutters that the only person who should know how attractive Suma is her. She vows to do everything she can to get Suma back from someone else, and she knows clearly what she needs to do. She will destroy the happy school life he has built. The next day, when Class A was still bustling with the echoes of yesterday, the class advisor, Ms. Sakura, walked in with a cold atmosphere. The whole class immediately fell silent. Suma and Fumi looked at each other, wondering what was going on. Ms. Sakura placed a letter on the table, and she explained that someone had sent an accusatory letter to the school, accusing the class of bullying. The atmosphere in class became tense. Sakura started reading the complaint letter, and said she felt disappointed and saddened by the allegations. When she asked the class who bullied Erika to the point where she couldn't go to school anymore, Suma could only admit that he didn't know exactly what kind of person Erika was. He only knows that the friend sitting next to him is Fumi and the most prominent and recognizable members of the class. Suma glanced at the empty chair in the classroom and realized that it must be Erika's place, the girl who spoke ill of Minagu. He remembered the harsh words Erika had said, and wondered if that was the reaction of someone being bullied. He found it hard to believe that Erika's rude and sharp attitude would make her the target of any bullying. Ms. Sakura observed the silent class, and she asked anyone who felt even the slightest twinge of conscience to raise their hand. However, the whole class remained silent. No one responded. Suma thinks that Ms. Sakura, a new and inexperienced teacher, is handling this the wrong way. This suspect search strategy will not work. When you see that no one is willing to admit their mistakes or say anything, Ms. Sakura stated that until this bullying incident is resolved, there is a high possibility that the upcoming school camping trip will be cancelled. The whole class immediately fell into chaos. The camping trip was a long-awaited event, and everyone was looking forward to it. Canceling the event completely seems like too extreme a measure. No names were given as suspects, and the atmosphere in the classroom became as cold as Hanabi's heart. 5 days later, the school received another letter, and Ms. Sakura stated that this letter contained the name of the student accused of being the bully. Erika gives this student one last chance to confess without revealing her name to the whole class. When no one stands up to admit their mistakes, Ms. Sakura asked Fumi to come with her to the staff room. Fumi, bewildered, insisted that she had never bullied anyone. But Sakura interrupted and said she didn't need to explain herself. Suma tries to stand up for Fumi's good character, but Sakura bluntly stopped her. She dragged Fumi out of class, treating her like a criminal. When Fumi was taken to the teacher's room to clarify everything, the whole class started talking about the incident. They quickly realized that Fumi and Erika have never interacted with each other. This raises more doubts about the veracity of the allegation. Fumi mostly kept quiet and read books, while Erika often likes to talk about topics revolving around her interests with her group of friends. However, the letter mentioned Fumi's name, which confused the whole class. Hasuiki approached Suma and asked his opinion on the situation. Suma comments that, even if someone is being bullied, it is difficult for the whole class not to notice. He also affirmed that Fumi is definitely not the type of person to bully others. Hasuike agreed with that opinion, and Suma begins to doubt the authenticity and truth of the letter's content. Fumi returned to class after a few minutes, and without saying a word, she took her seat. She wrote something on a small piece of paper and gave it to Suma. She insisted that she was innocent and hoped he would believe her. Suma looks straight into her eyes and says he never doubted her, not even for a second. Fumi begins to sob, and Suma is determined to make things clear. After school, Hasuike, Suma and Fumi gathered outside the school. Their situation went from bad to worse. Before the last class ended, Sakura passed a piece of paper to the whole class. Although Fumi insisted that she did not bully Erika or anyone, the truth is that there is still a letter accusing her of bullying. Ms. Sakura asks the class to write down what they know about Fumi, along with a threat to cancel the camping trip and field trip if they don't comply. This ultimatum almost implies that, if Fumi does not admit to a false accusation, the entire class will suffer. It was hard to believe that Sakura didn't stop to consider whether or not the letter was a false accusation. Suma concludes that they can't expect Sakura to solve this problem, and it's up to them now. Hasuike commented that the way Sakura handled this situation was like bullying Fumi again. Fumi apologizes for dragging Suma and Hasuike into this trouble, but Suma reassures her that she did nothing wrong. He promises to work with Hasuike to find the truth behind this Scooby-Doo-style mystery. He comforts Fumi and pledges that both he and Hasuike will always be by her side. In his heart, Suma just wanted to ease Fumi's insecurity as soon as possible. They turned their attention to the letters. The first letter was sent directly to the school, while the second letter was said to be given in person during a classroom visit. Therefore, Fumi became the main suspect, because Erika mentioned her name in the letter. Hazuki doesn't see any third parties involved, making the situation simpler. This problem, whether due to misunderstanding or other causes, can be clarified just by asking Erika directly. Suma declares that they only have one path, straight to Erika's house. They can get Erika's address from the class book. However, Fumi admitted that she was still unsure whether she had ever hurt Erika. Even though they had never spoken to each other, she realized that the possibility of her unintentionally making Erika uncomfortable was not zero. That's why she wanted to apologize directly to Erika, if she really did anything to make her sad. Suma had also been bullied without ever talking about it, so he knew it was entirely possible. But right now, he lacks the information to be able to confirm the contrary and comfort Fumi with certainty. Hazuki goes to attend club activities, leaving Fumi and Suma to go to Erika's house. However, when they arrived, Erika bluntly told them to leave. Even though she had heard from Sakura that Fumi was not a bully, Erika still insisted that Fumi badmouthed her every day. Fumi was clearly confused, and Erika noticed it. She shouted, asking Fumi to just apologize in front of the whole class. Otherwise she will never forgive Fumi. Suma felt that Erika's request was strange. Why does Erika want Fumi to apologize to the whole class, even when she's not there? Suma's premonition suddenly arose, the same feeling he had at the post-race karaoke party. He rushed around the corner and told Fumi to wait for him. Suma chases a girl through the alleys. How did she think she could outrun the fastest runner in the relay class? Suma grabbed the girl's hand, even though he knew who it was from the moment he started chasing. Hanabi laughed and joked, saying she was caught. But with a serious tone, Suma asked what Hanabi was doing here. Hanabi retains the right to remain silent, but Suma suspects she is involved in Erika's bullying incident. Hanabi's appearance in this area is also very suspicious. Hanabi, in her distorted thinking, assumed that Suma chased her so they could get back together. She offers to forgive him if he apologizes and sticks to her. However, Suma flatly and decisively rejected her. Suma got straight to the point. Asked Hanabi about Erika's bullying incident and if she had anything to do with it. Hanabi pretended to be innocent, but her voice was full of deceit. Suma blocked her escape route and asked again. He wanted to hear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The surprise of Suma's resolute action confused Hanabi. Tired of her game, Suma told her to stop acting. He knew exactly what she was doing. Hanabi was taken aback, and she started laughing loudly. She admits that only Suma can see through her like that. With Suma, everything was so easy. Hanabi has been deceiving and lying since childhood. But this time, she can't fool anyone, especially Suma. She laughed, admitting that she was discovered surprisingly easily. She also said that her little escape was really adorable. Suma asked directly if she incited Erika to accuse her of being bullied. However, Hanabi denied that. She said she was simply giving Erika a way to disrupt class unity, something she hated. Hanabi seemed quite proud of what she had done, and Erika was also satisfied with the results. Hanabi was trying to cause trouble in Suma's class, and by chance she met Erika. This tells Suma that Hanabi used Erika to carry out his plan. Hanabi reveals that she gathered a lot of information about Suma's class on her own. She asks him if he knows why she did all this. Suma guessed that it was because she wanted revenge, in the old-fashioned way, retaliation. But Hanabi admits that, although she was angry that Suma had rebelled against her, revenge was not the reason she did this. Hanabi says she did all this so Suma could see better. However, Suma refuses to participate in her antics. He asked if she was willing to admit to the school that she was behind all of this, but he immediately realized it was a stupid question. Of course she wouldn't do that. Hanabi may be cruel, but she's not stupid, and Suma knows that too. Talking to Hanabi obviously leads nowhere. If he wants to solve the problem, he must find a way to reach Erika, the real person behind and the main driving force of this whole thing. Suma let go of Hanabi's hand, surprising her. She had thought that Suma was doing all this just to have a chance to talk to her more, but Suma frankly told her not to misunderstand. The only reason he chased her was to solve his class's problem. Hanabi didn't seem to believe it. She thought that Suma did all this to get back at her because he was angry. But Suma remained silent and didn't say anything more. He knew full well that Hanabi did all of this not out of anger, but because she craved attention from him. At first, he ignored her actions, but now, her actions have affected his friend. Fumi. Suma pondered which response would be most effective. And he tells Hanabi that she should find a way to make new friends instead of making more enemies. Another cold statement was added to his list. Hanabi angrily responded, claiming that they would never be the same again. Then she burst into tears. Suma remained silent. Hanabi's tears no longer moved him like before. Unlike Fumi, Hanabi's crocodile tears are just a part of her proud plan. Suma explains that after talking with Hanabi, he returned to Fumi and quickly realized that he was the cause of everything. He admitted to Fumi that he had a disagreement with someone before, cutting ties with them in revenge. And in the process, he hurt those around him. He bowed his head and apologized to Fumi. Fumi grabbed Suma's hand and told him to lift his head, saying he wasn't wrong at all. Fumi then asked Suma if he was being chased by the person he broke off his relationship with. Suma confirmed, adding that it seemed like she was following them. He also heard that she was the one who made Erika lie. Suma tells Fumi that he will handle things with Erika himself and asks if she can give him a day to handle it. Hearing that, Fumi felt worried and asked Suma what he was going to do. Fumi offers to help, but Suma stops her and tells her to leave him to it. He explained that, while talking with Hanabi, he was thinking about how to handle this incident. However, you may have to resort to impure methods. And he couldn't let Fumi get involved in this. Suma apologized again, saying that she might feel uneasy about this, but he would definitely handle it. Fumi thanked him and said she was okay. She then asks if the person he broke off his relationship with is okay, surprising Suma. He realized that he still hadn't explained in detail the psychological damage he suffered from Hanabi. If he told it now, it would highlight the fact that he was Hanabi's victim, making that fact immutable. It's true that you are her victim, but he didn't want to tell Fumi about it when she was in a worse situation. Suma knew that Fumi would sympathize with him, would say that it wasn't his fault, but he wanted to avoid that if possible. However, because Fumi is in this bad situation due to Hanabi, she has a right to know why this happened. Suma thought that once everything was resolved, he would tell Fumi about his relationship with Hanabi. He silently resolved. The next day, after school, Suma suddenly found Mirai and said he wanted to ask her something about Erika, causing Mirai to become wary. Suma explains that Mirai was the one who gossiped with Erika during karaoke, and through her, he hopes to get Erika's social media account. He asked Mirai if Erika used social media, and could she tell him Erika's account. Mirai immediately refused, saying it was against regulations. Suma replies that he knows that, but he needs to contact Erika at all costs, and he promised to keep the informant confidential. Mirai seemed hesitant, but Suma continues to ask her if she wants to testify, causing Mirai to panic. Suma asked again, since she had been with Erika for so long, if she knew that the story of Erika being bullied by Fumi was a lie. Suma bowed his head, saying that Fumi was very hurt by this incident and asked Mirai for help. Mirai turns away and says she's sorry, but that's impossible. She wonders why she should care if Fumi gets into trouble, saying she has no interest in things that don't concern her. She asserted that from beginning to end, it was Erika's problem, and she had no reason to interfere. Suma asks if she isn't Erika's friend. Mirai replied that they weren't friends, but just friends with similar interests. And although it can be understood in many ways, she is not willing to go so far as to cover for Erika, because she finds it annoying. Suma thinks that from Mirai's behavior, surely no one will think that they are friends. However, depending on the situation, Mirai may accept his request. Suma asks if she doesn't have any grudges against Erika and if she can help him in some way. Mirai says don't misunderstand her, she's not doing this for Erika, but because there's nothing worth losing, so she won't say anything. Hearing that, Suma asked if that meant she wouldn't cooperate even if he asked. Suma thought that if the situation had come to this, he couldn't do anything else and would have to use the last card he had prepared for desperate situations. He said he understood she wouldn't help even if he asked, and proposed a condition in return. Suma asks Mirai if she was at karaoke after the sports festival, alone with Erika in the hallway near the restrooms. Hearing that, Mirai panicked and asked Suma how he knew about this. Suma replied that he overheard and heard the two of them bad-mouthing their classmates. I wonder what would happen if I told everyone this. That made Mirai even more frightened. Suma continues to say that the people Mirai is bad-mouthing are important members of their class, and if she confronts them, she will face many difficulties in the upcoming school year. Suma thought that even he wasn't sure what kind of attitude he would receive from the other side, but in the worst-case scenario, if she wasn't bullied, she might be ostracized. Mirai fearfully asks Suma if he has proof, and Suma replies that he doesn't. Mirai says that, even if she denies his baseless accusations, no one will believe her. Suma asked her again if she thought so. He said that Fumi never bullied anyone, she denied it, but what about the atmosphere in class? Suddenly, everyone begins to doubt, and even Mirai is temporarily trusting Fumi. Suma goes on to explain that once rumors start, they can no longer be controlled, and no one cares what the truth is. This worries Mirai even more, because she might get caught up in a similar situation. He said that, unless there is credible counter-evidence, it will only do harm to those involved. Mirai asks Suma that if she gives Erika's social media account, he won't reveal what they did, right? Suma replies that he doesn't care, though it is revealed that Erika has been bad-mouthing the others. But it's clear that Mirai definitely doesn't want to get involved in this. She continued to tremble in fear, and said that if she was caught speaking ill of others, she would lose her place in class, and even now, she was still considered a gloomy otaku girl. Suma says he understands, and promises not to reveal what he heard at karaoke. He thinks that gossiping about others is not a good thing, then asks Mirai if she is jealous of Minagu and other prominent people in class. He says that actually, he feels the same way, since he's been a loner for so many years, and wonders how Mirai feels seeing Aihara, Minagu, and the other popular kids having fun with each other, making her unable to help but admire them. Suma explains that Mirai's jealousy stems from the popular kids in class, and he can understand why Mirai feels that way. Mirai looked at Suma with strange eyes, whispering to herself that this was amazing, that it was impossible to believe that there were people in the real world who were so wonderful, kind, caring, and that this was a real miracle. Exist? Suma felt confused. He thought Mirai spoke too fast for him to keep up, then called out to her. Mirai immediately said that she had changed her mind and would be secretly in charge from now on. She then hurriedly ran away while blushing and giggling, making Suma even more confused. Suma explains that in the evening, he begins the second phase of the plan. From now on, he had to pretend to be Hanabi, and then contact the Erika account that Mirai had revealed to him. Suma said that because he heard Erika's voice over the loudspeaker, he knew she wasn't ready to listen. However, if the person who contacted her was Hanabi, the person behind all this, then she wouldn't make a fuss about it, if he can successfully convince Erika to listen to him. From there, he just needed to get Erika to create convincing evidence that she lied about being bullied. The most important part of the plan is that he must impersonate Hanabi perfectly, so that Erika cannot suspect. Suma thought he had been with Hanabi for many years, enough to confidently imitate her. But he did not know whether Hanabi contacted Erika through social networks or not. He figured if they kept in touch, it would definitely be online. Hanabi is the type of person who locks all apps except Line, and she has never shared her account with anyone but him. Suma is the only one who knows Hanabi's twisted nature. Even her second account, where she freely expressed her distorted emotions, she didn't tell him about. Suma wants to take advantage of this, but first, he needs to find an app other than Line that he can use to impersonate Hanabi and to contact Erika. He then downloaded Skype and created a new account under the name Hanabi, then followed Erika's account that Mirai had provided. Once finished, Suma looked at his phone and waited. Suddenly, he received a notification. Suma thought that less than 5 minutes had passed, and he turned on his phone to check. On the screen was a message from Erika, surprised to see that Hanabi was also using Skype. Erika thanked her for the friend request and told her that Fumi and the others had come to her house today, with a laugh. Suma smiled when he realized that Erika had taken the bait. Suma thinks this is easy. Erika had fallen into the trap, and now, he just had to continue the conversation, pretending to be Hanabi. He explained that he used the same username that Hanabi used on his Line account, and he didn't think Erika would notice the difference. Suma also knows well how Hanabi writes messages. She never uses emojis. With this information, Suma believes he can perfectly impersonate Hanabi without major problems. Suma, as Hanabi, starts texting with Erika. He thanked her for accepting to become friends again and said he had something to discuss about Fumi and the others. Erika immediately responded, showing curiosity, asking what Hanabi wanted to say. Suma asks if when Fumi went to Erika's house, she brought anyone along. Erika confirmed that Fumi had brought a boy, expressed her disbelief and asked how Hanabi knew. Suma replied that the person accompanying Fumi was Suma, a childhood friend of hers. He said that he ran into them again after they left Erika's house, and Suma asked Hanabi many questions and asked her for advice. Erika wonders if they are near her house, and Suma confirms that they are. He went on to say that Fumi had insisted that she wasn't bullying anyone, and that the whole situation was really unreasonable. According to Hanabi, Fumi asked if Erika had accidentally hurt her, and that Erika should consider apologizing. Finally, Suma tells Erika that Fumi has decided to apologize in front of everyone tomorrow. Hearing this made Erika laugh happily. She texted back, unable to believe Fumi would act like that. Erika taunts that Fumi has a problem for apologizing for something she never did, and wonders how a boring girl who only reads books alone all day like Fumi could bully anyone. According to her, if there is a bully, it is Hanabi. Erika went on to say that, even if Fumi apologized, what she did was unforgivable and laughed as she said she couldn't wait to see how things would turn out. Suma asks Erika if she remembers what to do next. Erika immediately replied that of course she remembered. She said she would send pictures of her cut wrist to the school, and then use them to threaten the school committee. Erika believes this will cause them to cancel their picnic. Hearing this, Suma couldn't help but be shocked. Erika continued talking, seeming amused at the idea of spoiling the trip. She admitted that just not having to witness that group of people boasting anymore was enough to make her feel worthwhile. Suma thinks to himself that it's amazing that there are people who enjoy dragging others into trouble just for their own convenience. Furthermore, Erika was gloating about this situation. When Suma as Hanabi, he asked if she was going to school tomorrow. Erika replied that she thought she should continue to miss school. Suma encouraged her, saying wouldn't she want to see Fumi apologize? He emphasized that it would certainly be an interesting sight. Hearing that, Erika happily agreed. Suma continues to instruct Erika, saying that when she gets to school, she should say something like "I won't forgive," and cause a ruckus, because then things will progress faster. Erika completely agreed and confirmed that she would be at school tomorrow. With this, Suma completed an important step in his plan. The next day, at school, Suma meets Fumi and asks if she has some time. The two stood on the balcony, where Suma revealed that Erika was going to school today. Fumi asked in surprise if he had convinced Erika. Suma frankly admitted that he did not convince her but actually tricked her. He said he believes everything is about to be resolved. Despite using controversial methods, Suma has no regrets. He just wanted to end this troublesome situation as soon as possible. Suma explains to Fumi that he arranged everything so that Erika would be forced to tell the truth. However, he also warned that previously, Erika had said some bad things about her. And this could hurt Fumi. Fumi held Suma's hand, looked at him with determination and said that no matter how bad people said about her, she would be fine. She admits that being accused by her teacher and being the target of class rumors was really painful, but what kept her strong was that Suma and Chiaki stood by her side. Suma trusted her, and that was enough. Fumi continues, saying that as long as Suma doesn't hate her, she doesn't need to worry about what others think of her. These words made Suma blush, his heart beat faster. Fumi encourages Suma, telling them they should go back to class. He nodded in agreement. When the two entered the classroom, the atmosphere suddenly changed. The whole class was surprised by Erika's appearance. With an arrogant expression and a smug smile, Erika entered the classroom, attracting all eyes. Soon, the teacher also appeared and asked the whole class to take their seats. After that, she called Fumi to the front of the class and said she wanted to give her time to apologize to Erika. She asked directly if Fumi admitted to bullying Erika, making Fumi surprised and confused. The teacher continued, asking if Fumi wasn't going to apologize. Then what was the point of this? At that moment, Suma stood up to stop the teacher, asking her to wait a moment. He walked up to the front of the class, looked straight at Erika, and said he wanted to give her one last chance. Suma asks Erika if she's sure she doesn't want to admit that she lied about being bullied. This question made Erika both scared and confused. In anger, Erika shouted, asking Suma what he was talking about, and affirming that Fumi was ready to apologize to her. Suma thought it would be better if Erika admitted the truth, but since she didn't, he had to make the final move. Suma made it clear that, since Erika refused to admit it, he was forced to present evidence. He took out a stack of papers from his bag, then distributed them to everyone in the class. Erika stiffened, scared when she saw those papers. On the papers were the entire contents of Erika's text messages from the night before. And when the whole class looked on, they immediately rioted, asking if this was real, and if everything about being bullied was just a lie. Erika started shaking and said that Suma had misunderstood, but those words only made everyone more confused. The teacher, also confused, asked Erika what it meant and asked her to explain. Erika hastily said that it was a lie, and that the person in that conversation was not her. She also argued that the name wasn't her own, so Suma couldn't prove it was her. Suma responded, claiming that he could prove it was her. This startled Erika. Suma immediately showed her her profile page on Skype and said that she made things easy by putting her photo and name on it. When the whole class realized it was indeed her, Erika said in bewilderment that this didn't prove anything. Suma asked her again if she was sure. And he asked if so, was there any evidence for the accusations of bullying against her? He continued, saying that whether the account was hers or not, he could completely investigate to find out if it was really her. Erika fell silent and started crying, making the teacher also feel scared. Suma calls the teacher and says that with this evidence, it's clear that Fumi is innocent. The teacher looked at the class and noticed everyone looking at her in shock. She tried to justify that she didn't blame Fumi completely, but was just trying to clarify her doubts. But the class still looked at her, saying nothing. Scared her and finally bowed her head in apology. The teacher apologized to Fumi and the whole class, hoping everyone would forgive. Suma and Fumi looked at each other, and Fumi shook her head, disagreeing. Suma called the teacher and asked if she wanted to confirm something. He asked if the school trip would take place. The teacher answered definitely yes, which made the whole class happy and the atmosphere changed completely. The teacher said that this time she would do it right and would inform the school board that they would go on the tour as planned. The class celebrates and the teacher says she will go and drags Erika along. Suma heard people around him talking that they didn't expect Erika to be like that. Everyone surrounded Fumi, apologizing for not trying to protect her and not doing anything to help her. Fumi said it was okay, and she was partly at fault because the school trip might have been cancelled because of this. Haruta told Fumi that it was not her fault, and that they were the ones who didn't think clearly when they said the trip would be cancelled. Minagu and everyone apologized to Fumi while crying, saying they should have listened to her first. Fumi looked at Suma, not knowing what to do. Suma jumps in and says that Fumi understands how they feel, and they should change the subject, because it's the best thing right now. Everyone agreed, because continuing to talk about this would only make Fumi feel worse. Fumi grabbed Suma's sleeve and thanked him. She says he is her hero, and she smiles. Suma thought that the bullying was just a lie, and the teacher was also frightened. After everything was clarified to the teacher, Erika's parents were also reprimanded for this, and the teacher scolded Erika. Someone called Suma. It's Haruta, who says that now that everything's settled, they should go out and celebrate today, but Suma replies that he can't go today and maybe next time. Haruta said it was okay and went with the others. Suma thought it was good to see everyone so happy. I think Erika didn't say who she was chatting with on Skype after all. But now it doesn't matter anymore. Whether or not she had an accomplice, that doesn't make her any less guilty. And Erika doesn't seem like the type to protect her accomplice. So Suma was surprised to discover this and wondered if Erika had a weakness for Hanabi. Hanabi is the type of person who thinks before acting. Since childhood, Hanabi has always avoided all difficulties without any effort. Suma was sure that Hanabi had expected everything to be discovered at some point, so she had prepared some precautions. He continues to think that the teacher really wants to know who the accomplice is, and that's why she came to Suma to gather information about this. However, if Suma tells the teacher about his plan and points out that Hanabi is the one behind everything, things will get complicated. Suma doesn't trust the teacher. And besides, he didn't want to involve Hanabi in this matter this time either. Hanabi is a person without hope, so nothing can change. The change must come from herself. Suma looked at Fumi and thought that she was the real victim in this. He asked her if they could talk for a bit. Fumi and Suma at a park. Fumi walked over and sat on the swing, saying that this feeling was familiar, while smiling at Suma. Suma wondered if Fumi was trying to lighten the tension, and he resolved to muster up his courage. He thought he would tell Fumi everything about Hanabi, something he wanted to hide all this time. He needed Fumi to know everything, and sat on the railing next to her. Suma asks Fumi if she remembers a few days ago, when he said that someone was hurting the people around him. Fumi nodded and said she remembered. Suma continued, saying he wanted to talk about that person and asked if she could hear him, surprising Fumi. She replied, saying of course, but she thought Suma didn't want to talk about it. Suma thanks her for her concern, and says this is something she needs to know. He told Fumi everything, explaining his painful relationship with Hanabi, how he couldn't stand it and cut off contact with her. Suma continues to explain about the twisted feelings Hanabi has for him, and he admits that he is the one responsible for the recent incident with Erika. He apologized to Fumi and said he wanted to make up for all the hurt he caused Fumi. But she interrupted him, saying that he had done nothing wrong. Fumi looked at him, her face showing pain when she heard these words. She looked at Suma, asked him if it had been difficult, and apologized for not realizing it sooner, even though everything was right before her eyes. She continued, saying that if he had realized it sooner, Suma wouldn't have had to go through that pain alone, and she wished she had supported him beforehand. She apologized again, tears welling up in her eyes. Suma looked at her, confused, and asked why she was crying like that. Fumi replied that she cried because she felt very disappointed not realizing how much he had suffered. And because she had always loved him. Fumi tells Suma that she has always loved him. Hearing that, Suma was surprised and his face turned red. Fumi laughed, saying that he must be very surprised, because even though they rarely talked, now she said this. She continues, asking Suma if he remembers the first day they talked. Suma thought back. It was 3 days after he broke up with Hanabi. He had just finished cutting his hair and was about to start again. Remember, it was an early morning when he picked up the marker that Fumi dropped, and that's when their first conversation began. Fumi told Suma that she always wanted to talk to him. This surprised Suma and asked why. Fumi replied that he always watered the plants and took care of the flowers after each class. That made her think he was a wonderful person. Suma now wonders if Fumi always wanted to talk to him because she liked him. He couldn't believe it, because he thought he was a dark person, always hiding behind his long hair, and couldn't imagine anyone loving someone like him. He couldn't believe it, because he thought he was a dark person, always hiding behind his long hair, and couldn't imagine anyone loving someone like him. Fumi was surprised and asked him if his long hair was the reason why he couldn't believe his feelings. She said that, with that long hair, he seemed to lack an identity, making it difficult to understand him. Fumi looked at Suma and said that what he said was true. She always wondered about his thoughts. But even though she didn't know clearly, she always observed him and realized that he was a kind person. Every time she saw him, she felt he was wonderful, and then without realizing it, she couldn't take her eyes off him. She felt her heart beat faster every time she saw him. And when they started talking, she loved him even more. Fumi went on to say that she had clearly seen his kindness, concern for his friends, and other good qualities. She asked him if that bothered him. Suma shyly replied that no, and told himself that it would never bother him. Finally, Fumi took Suma's hand, her eyes filled with determination, and gently said that she just wanted to ask him one thing, something she had always wanted. She blushed, her eyes never leaving him. Suma couldn't help but wonder what she was going to say, and before he could think, Fumi whispered that she wanted to become his girlfriend. The words made Suma stand still, his face turned red, his heart racing. I couldn't believe it. In contrast to the painful relationships of the past, this time perhaps he can truly enjoy happy days with Fumi. But he is afraid that if he starts this relationship, they will both be dragged into a chaos with no way out. Fumi looked at him, her eyes expectant, and asked him if he could look at her as a lover. Suma thought for a moment, then replied that it wasn't like that. He actually found her very attractive, but he thought about the problem with Hanabi that he mentioned before. She seemed to have no intention of stopping seeking revenge on him, and he knew that if he continued to involve her, he would only make the situation worse. He decided to ignore her until she got bored, because that was the best way. If it was just him, maybe he could let it go and move on with his life. But if he starts dating Fumi, Hanabi might come back to bother her, and for Fumi's safety, it's probably best for him not to fall in love with her for now. Fumi looked at him and said that as long as he was by her side, no matter what happened, she would be fine. Suma didn't doubt Fumi's words, but he never thought he could become such an important person to someone. Thinking about it, Fumi asked him if the only reason he didn't want to date her was his problem with Hanabi. Suma answered yes. Hearing that, Fumi hesitated and asked him if that was the case, could she have a chance, and asked him if he could try dating her just to see what would happen. This surprised Suma. Fumi continued and said that no matter what happened, she would be okay, and she thought that just saying it wouldn't be enough to make him believe it, so she wanted him to see what would happen if they tried dating on their own. Experiment. Suma thought that he didn't expect Fumi to say this. At first, he didn't want to date her because he was afraid of hurting her, but now he feels like rejection might be worse. He asked Fumi if she was really okay with a test date. Fumi happily replied that she would be happier if she was given a chance instead of being rejected. Seeing her say that, Suma felt himself blushing and thought she was adorable. After a while, Suma told Fumi that they should leave early, and she agreed. Fumi asked Suma if he could tell her his SNS information. Suma stood still, bewildered, when Fumi called his name again. He quickly apologized and said that he just realized he hadn't contacted anyone on SNS for a long time. He thought that besides Erika, who pretended to contact him as Hanabi, he had no one else in his contacts, other than Hanabi, who was now blocked by him. Hearing Suma say that, Fumi felt like maybe she shouldn't ask. Suma hastily replied that if anything happened, she should feel free to contact him without hesitation. He was still a bit confused. The two smiled at each other, then Fumi asked Suma that, even if nothing happened, if she wanted to talk, could she contact him? Suma replied naturally, of course. The answer made Fumi feel happy, and they exchanged each other's SNS information. Suma felt like the emotions he was experiencing just now were somehow different from before. When he returned home, he noticed Hanabi was waiting for him again. Suma tried to ignore her and walk away, but suddenly, Hanabi spoke up and asked him if he would protect her. The question made Suma turn around and see Hanabi smiling smugly.